Good evening. Thank you for joining me. Welcome to the Transformational Truth of Tarot tutorial webinar. My name is Tiffany Crisara and I am the author of the Transformational Truth of Tarot, which is a bit of a tongue twister. I do like my teas. I like my transformation, my truth and my tarot, and they are all very subjective things, aren't they? So that's what we're going to be looking at tonight. Thank you very much for joining me. I really feel very passionate about those T's, the truth, the tarot, and transformation. And just having the opportunity to kind of share some of those things that I've had along my tarot journey that I have shared with others along their tarot journey, and the transformation that has made. Now, quite often the things that people run up against with the tarot are the same, even though the tarot is a personal journey. It's a very personal journey, very subjective journey again. The actual problems that we face with the tarot path is one and the same, really. So we're going to have a look at those common issues or those common roadblocks along the tarot path, are kind of what they are about, really, deeply inside of ourselves. Because that's what the tarot is, isn't it? It's a mirror about ourselves. And one of the ways that the word tarot is translated means the book of life. And that's what happens, isn't it? Life isn't an easy journey. And so what we do is, usually what brought us to the tarot journey in the first place is something that was not easy, that happened to us. And the need to know more about it, the need to have that understanding becomes overwhelming. Because when we have understanding, then the pain just goes away. And that's what's the gift in the tarot is about. But just like life, we have so much misunderstanding, and the tarot has so much misunderstanding around it. You know, it's been around since God knows when. Nobody knows. Maybe not even God. I'm sure he does. But it's been around a very long time, and it stood the test of time, even though it's been branded the Devil's Pictures book and all the Cathars history and everything along those lines. You know, it's not going anywhere. It's a very ancient, very mystical, very powerful art, and I feel it's one that has a lot to offer in the age that we are living in. However, it's also gathered so much dust. Another way of the word tarot being translated, for instance, is royal road, and that's in Egyptian. Tar and then ot is royal road. So if you think it's been on that very ancient royal road, and all of the attention that it has mustered up throughout the years, and all of that dust and all of that conditioning is something that is very strong around the tarot. So then, say you've had this thing happen in your life and you've been initiated in a way, the tarot's called to you in a way through this experience. That's usually what happens. And then you go through all these bumps in the roads about, oh, well, should I really be doing this? Or people kind of feeling like you're on the wrong path, or that you shouldn't be doing it, or that it's unhealthy in some ways. And to be honest, it can be unhealthy if you are not going into it with a level of respect and a level of what is your intention when you're working with the tarot. So for instance, with playing cards, the only thing that changes a reading to a game is your intention. You can do a reading with playing cards. It's just your intention and the way that you see it that changes it. So that's what you have with the tarot. It's a pure power right there, but it's what you do with that that makes it either unhealthy or negative or obsessive, or makes it inspirational, motivational, and empowering. So that's what we're going to be looking at tonight, is how to get to that place where we're, you know, working with it and feeling empowered, not just delivering those empowering readings, but feeling empowered, because obviously that has to come first. And that's very difficult when you might have society kind of saying to you, what are you doing? Or prove it. That's the other condition, which is quite difficult, because it's not really there to be proved. That's not what it's about. It's not about prediction. It's not about proving. At least in my vision, it's not about that. So obviously I'm sharing with you what my vision is with the tarot tonight. And we will be looking at some certain categories of that. So bear with me 1 minute, because I did have my PowerPoint all ready to share with you, and I just want to check that I do. And then we will begin with, yes, I do have it, but I need to share it with you guys. So I'm sorry about that. I can't even blame the computer. It's really me. Okay, so I think we are sharing screen now. I hope that we are. There's a group chat there. So maybe if one of you could tell me that you can hear me okay and you can see my screen, because you'll probably see this group chat here and all of the control buttons now. If you could send that in there, that would be great, so I know. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing screen for a second. And I'm going to go back to the control room. Okay, and I'm going to go in the chat box. Oh, we can see and hear you. Thank you. Okay. Yes, all good. Thank you, Tiffany. That's awesome. Okay, so it sounds like everything is being shared. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the share button, and hopefully you can see this here. Okay, I'll just go there. All right, so welcome everyone. I hope you can see this okay. This is the first time I've done this PowerPoint presentation, but I guess if you can't, you'll just see me. And it won't make much difference anyway. But I'd love to know later when we do our Q&A at the end, if you could see this okay. That would be fabulous. Obviously, because you've taken the time to join in live, I am going to make time for some personal Q&A for you. So if you have anything that you want to ask that has not been addressed, you can do so at the end of this webinar. You could also maybe think of what your most challenging experience of the tarot has been, because I'd love to hear that. I'd love to kind of hopefully be able to help you with that and show you how to kind of turn that around, because I'm passionate about that. I'm really passionate about that. So as I said, welcome to the Transformational Truth of Tarot tutorials, and we shall begin. So we're looking at 3 main categories tonight: how to trust your own intuition and free yourself from that book of meanings. Yes. Especially, you know, at the beginning stages, although there are people that have read for years and still can't get off of the book of meanings. And that's usually because at the very beginning, they began to read that way. And that is usually how we begin on the tarot path, is we get a deck and we start reading for ourselves, and we get a book and we look at the meanings in the book. And the problem with that is that we start to think that the book has all the information, and that we need to remember the meanings that are in the book. And we forget that actually the tarot is a mirror, which means that the meanings are all within you. So it's very much about trusting yourself to throw that book away. Of course, tarot has a structure to learn, and we have to have respect for the esoteric systems that are within it, but those esoteric systems are within you as well. So we're going to look at how you can avoid going down the road where you think that you're always going to need a book and you're never going to be able to throw that away. Okay, we're going to look at some tips for that. The other two things are how to get over the fear of being wrong. Yeah, I put wrong, obviously, like with speech brackets, because I said earlier that tarot is not provable. So, you know, if it's not provable, then being wrong or being right doesn't really exist. So if you have a fear of being wrong with the tarot, then you're fearing something that doesn't exist. What you're really fearing is what somebody else thinks of you. So it's that we would need to work through. And again, we'll be having some more tips around that as we go on with this webinar. And the third thing is how to give empowering, inspiring readings. Well, if you've got the first two, which is knowing that those answers are within yourself, and the knowing that it's all subjective, then you won't feel so blocked. And if you're not feeling blocked, then inspiration can flow within you, because that's what it is, inspiration. It can come within you, but all the time that your head is full of, oh, I need to know what that means, or I'm scared I'm going to get this wrong, then you're not going to be inspired and you're not going to be inspiring. So if we work on the first two, you will get to a place of the third one naturally, but we'll also look at some tips around that too. Okay, so the Fool's Journey. And I expect I've got beginners, intermediate, advanced and professional. I expect I've got all levels of you guys here on this call. And we've spoken a little bit about this already in terms of this is the Fool's Journey. So here we have the Fool. Let me get my pen, snazzy pen. Okay, so here's the Fool. Except I'm not very good at drawing with something that's not actually a pen. Not a real pen. A virtual pen. Interesting. So what we have here is the Fool, and he goes on this journey right the way through. Gosh, I feel like this is quite disrespectful, actually. Like I'm graffitiing the Major Arcana. I'm so sorry, Tarot. Okay, so it goes right the way through this journey round to the world. Okay, and the Fool represents us. It's us, our soul, and all of these steps are a step on the Royal Road or the Book of Life. So we all go through these steps in our lifetime over and over and over again, actually, which is why it's cyclical. And we're going round and round and round and round. And we might go back and forth, and we might get stuck somewhere, usually around the devil. We get quite stuck. And the Hangman. So we kind of hang out there for a while, and we kind of go forwards and backwards. So it's not always like, oh, this linear experience. However, the whole process of it in the bigger picture is to do this journey. That's what we're doing. Even if we play around a bit and we go a bit here and a bit there, you know, we are on this bigger journey. So it's a mirror, and the mirror reflects who we are. So for instance, if you look in a mirror and you see something you don't like, you might not be very happy with the mirror, but if it's an easily fixable thing, then maybe like a hair out of place or something like that, you'll do that. You'll fix that hair. You won't get angry or annoyed with the mirror for showing you that. Okay, so in that sense, the first thing that we are working with in order to be empowering and inspirational is to respect that mirror, just like this world here looks like a full-length mirror there, doesn't it? Totally. Okay, so it's about respecting this mirror here and giving it the gratitude for showing you where you're at right now. Okay, so there's two ways to work with the tarot, or two ways to work with this mirror, should I say. One way is that a reader will basically use it as a prediction, because people are predictive. We're all predictive. We all have patterns. And the other way is to go, this is what this is showing. Do you like what it is showing? If not, let's look at possible ways to basically remove that hair from the mirror, if you get what I'm saying. There's no point getting angry with the mirror or the person that is telling you about the mirror. So in terms of ourselves, if you're reading for yourself, the first and foremost practice is to be ready for what the mirror shows you. And when you are ready for what the mirror shows you, you will automatically become empowered and you will automatically become inspired, even if it's not particularly easy. So it's all about seeing the bigger picture. Okay, let's move on. When I first started reading, that was about, when I first started reading professionally, I was 20 something. It was in 2003. Yeah, I started reading professionally. And straight away, these 3 golden rules, I called them, came to me straight away. And I think maybe they needed to, because where I started reading was a shop that was right next door to a methadone clinic. It was my own shop that I opened, and it was right next door to a methadone clinic, and just 2 minutes walk away from one of London's largest psychiatric hospitals. So I really was chucked in at the deep end. And one of my first clients actually said to me that she wanted to know where her physical head was. And no, she's not physical. She said she wanted to know where her head was. And I said, okay, you mean spiritual, mental, or emotional? And she said, no, my physical head, they removed it during surgery and gave it to Cher. And I think Cher's given it to Michael Jackson, but I just want to check with the tarot. And so I was like, okay, I'm not sure I can give you a reading. Maybe some healing might be good. So it's always about checking where you're coming from with it, and is it right to read for someone or not. Quite often you'll feel straight away actually whether it is or not, and often we can override that feeling of it not being right, because let's face it, with the tarot there is a lot of our own stuff going on, which is causing our own blocks and fears with it, which is what we're going to explore in this session. So the 3 golden rules just came to me straight away. It was almost like a sense of, as soon as I opened the doors to that shop, bang, there they were from Spirit. It was like, this is your code of conduct, Tiffany, and this is how to do it. And actually, ever since then, I have felt like I am employed by Spirit, to the point where, you know, sometimes I'll be still ill and go into work, and then I'll be really quiet, like if I was at Mysteries or something, and I'd be like, why am I so quiet? And they'd be like, Tiffany, you're ill, go home. There's been times that I have read the way that was easier, i.e. I'd had a really hard day with a whole load of people coming in for readings, and they were all pretty challenging, and by the end of the day I started reading the way they wanted me to read. And that evening I had come across a quote, and the quote said, just because they acted like an idiot doesn't mean you have to too. And it was a massive slap. And it's true. Like, if you're going to really be an inspirational, empowering reader, and you're not going to suffer with the blocks, the first and the foremost thing really is to make sure that your alignment is there, that you are aligned first and foremost to your spiritual practice. That is what the tarot is, actually. It demands of you a way of living, and that way of living is in this 3 golden rules of inspirational readings. So positivity, not negativity. As you can see, the 3 cards, hopefully you can see, the 3 cards that I've put out, just in case you haven't, is, you can't see, is Death, the Devil, and the Tower, as a 3-card spread, as an example. It's like, how do you make a positive out of that? Well, this is the spiritual practice of the tarot, and it's the spiritual practice of life, because tarot and the life are the same thing. And it's very much a case of coming out of our small, oh my goodness attitude to the bigger picture attitude. So it's not about seeing cards as negative, and it's not about seeing life experiences as negative. It's about seeing them as a step on the journey, as we saw in the last slide. Let me go back there a minute so you can see what I mean. It's just a step. It's just a step on the journey, yeah, to get here. You're not going to get to the world by skipping Death or the Devil or the Tower. It's through it that you get there. And so that is what makes it amazing. And it's about finding that level of positivity. So, for instance, if somebody had this, I would be saying that, you know, for a long time, which is the Death, because Death is really slow, for a long time, they've been holding on to a situation that was not giving them any nourishment in life, and it was happening through fear. And that's where we go into the Devil here, okay? And so what that caused was a feeling of obsession and anxiety. But the Devil is also known as Lucifer, which is the light bringer. So we have the opportunity for the light to be seen, just like in the Death card. If you see here, this is the white rose, which is held by the Fool. The Fool, sorry, let's go back. The Fool, I don't know if you can see the white rose here. It's in his hand here. Okay, so that same white rose is here. And it's talking about the beginning of life again, but big time. It's just like this little white dog here is now this amazingly bright white horse there. So that energy of freedom with the Death card is stronger than within the Fool card. Okay, so this is what's happening here, really. Death is your greatest ally. It's come along because it's like, no, you know what you're doing is actually causing you to feel very, very stuck, when actually the Devil is really only here to kind of help you see the light. And that's what happens eventually, because the very next card in the sequence from the Devil is the Tower. Okay, and we see the Tower there. And so we go from 15 to 16. So this is the strike of enlightenment. This is the lightning bolt striking through the crown, releasing Adam and Eve from this big tower here, which is hell, basically. So most people hate the Tower, but actually when put like that, you can see that the Tower and Death really are working for your highest good. With the Devil, it's not so easy to see that it is, but it is. It's Lucifer. It's the light bringer. So when people say, you know, oh, do you tell me anything bad? I mean, I had my physical fitness instructor say that to me yesterday. She said, so when people come to see you, do you tell them if you see something bad? And I said, well, I don't see something bad. And she said, what? And I said, well, it's just like anything, you know, it's like I help them to see if they've got sugar or if they've got salt. So if they put salt, if they're planning to make a cake and they put salt in the cake, then it's going to be, it's not going to be a nice experience. So it's like, okay, you've got salt. Let's make, I don't know what salty dish is, risotto or something, is it? I'm not much of a cook, although I do use the cooking analogy quite a lot in this webinar tonight, funnily enough, later on. So it's about determining what ingredients there are and how to use them. And that is leading us on to the next one, which is healing, not prediction. Okay. Now, prediction is a very tricky thing. It really is a case of, yes, the tarot does have a facet of prediction, and that is usually why people are drawn to it. It is about how you use those predictions, how you work with them, like we said about the mirroring aspect. And it's a very subjective thing. Sometimes I will predict, but I will only predict if I feel like strongly in my heart of heart, like this real strong conviction of knowing, of just knowing really strongly. That's when I'll predict. If there's a less resonance than that with the prediction that's coming through, I tend to be very, very careful, and I will explain what I feel and that there are those possibilities, but I'll very much work on bringing them back into alignment with their present moment, because it's just like in quantum physics, like they say that once an atom is seen, it changes. If you give somebody a prediction, quite often their energy will just change and they'll become fixated about that prediction and they'll block themselves, because the only way to the future is through today. It's always today, 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 today. So if they're not in today, then they won't get to the future. They won't ever get there. They'll just block their growth. So, for instance, another story I had was reading on a phone line, and a lady said to me, because it was a typical thing about her lover going off back to his wife. And she said to me, well, everybody else has made me feel like he's going to come back, and you haven't made me feel like that whatsoever. And I said to her, did you or did you not start this call by saying you felt stuck? And she said, yes. And I said, okay, so me telling you that he's going to come back to you is going to unstick you. How? Got silence. So then I just said, okay, imagine you're in a swimming pool and you've got a ball at the other end of the swimming pool, and the lifeguard has told you that that ball is going to make its way to you in November. I said, I mean, are you going to just stay in the pool and get cold and not swim for it and just wait for it to come to you, or are you going to swim for it? And she said to me, sounds like a lot of hard work to me, and put the phone down. And that is part of the thing I think we're working through with the tarot. I think it's very important that we actually, this is the clash that we have, and it's starting to lessen. You know, I've been reading full-time for 11 years, and I do feel that there is an energy of people becoming more aware of how to work with it so that it works for them and not against them, on both sides, on the reader's side and the client side. But obviously it's down to us readers first and foremost to really, it's about how we connect with it that actually brings that change forward. And you know, really, my hope with the tarot, so my hope, I'm not projecting this on you, but my hope is, I'm probably pretty sure that it's yours as well, is that I don't want it to be approached with the same obsession, anxiety, control, attachment that prediction can bring up. I know it to be an incredibly healing tool if we have the courage within ourselves to look and face what that mirror is showing us, and then take that message on board and work with it. That's when it becomes the most empowering tool, or one of the most empowering tools that I know. And therefore, we go on to this last one, empowerment, not dependency. Okay. So yeah, those 3 things were given to me straight away, and maybe you'll find them useful as well. Let's move on. So the tarot is intuition. Okay, it's an intuitive art, yet we approach it very much with the left brain. And I could also understand that as well, because even though it's an intuitive art, it does have things to learn. So it's a bit like, how do we approach it? Do we approach it in the learning of astrology and numerology and the mythology and the Kabbalistic, and all the other esoteric systems that it has in it? Or do we just pick up a deck and run with it? Well, as we put here, what is the most compelling about the tarot is that it has a structure that other cards don't. In order for a deck to be called tarot and not oracle cards, it has to contain 2 decks. The major arcana, which I see as the gods, the wise, and the puppeteers. And the minor arcana, which is the who, what, where, or the puppets. So the major arcana are basically the gods. They're the big wise behind what is happening in our day-to-day life, which is the minor arcana. And the puppeteers are pulling the strings of the puppets. So quite often in a reading, for instance, I'll see one major arcana card, which is strength. And then the other, I'm just saying strength for an example. And then the other cards around it might be something like the 2 of Swords, the 7 of Swords, the 8 of Swords, the 2 of Pentacles. And so cards that don't really indicate that there is strength, cards that indicate that somebody is struggling. And that will tell me that they're early on in that place of the strength lesson. Whereas if they've got strength and say the 9 of Cups, the 9 of Pentacles, the 3 of Cups and things along those lines, then I know that they are mastering that lesson of strength and that the cards are going to change soon. So there's a link between the major and the minor that is absolutely integral and totally and utterly fascinating. And, oracle cards, they're going to give you the same message at the end of the day. But there isn't really anything much to learn, as far as I know, with oracle cards. Whereas with the tarot, you do have the structure to learn of the major arcana and the minor arcana. Okay, and those arcanas, that's secrets, are full of symbolism. But the symbolism is only there to unlock your subconscious. However, we tend to get hung up on learning the symbolism more than allowing it, which is similar to obsessing about the key and not looking at the door. Now, that happens, as I said before, with the book scenario, for instance, or feeling that you need to know everything about the tarot before you read for someone. I mean, that's ridiculous, because ridiculous is a strong word, but we're looking at something here which has the most ancient esoteric symbolism contained in each and every card. And, astrology is infinite. It's not possible, really. It's the book of life. It's like saying I need to know absolutely everything about life before I live it. Let's move on. Okay. So the key to the door is, remember, the tarot is a mirror of all that you hold within. So all the answers are within. They're within you. You are the walking tarot. Yes? Okay. I challenge you to throw that book away as the first thing we do when we get off the webinar. The whole point of working with tarot instead of oracle cards is to learn the symbolism, but there is a way to do it. So note that I said symbolism and not meanings, okay? So when you're going to a book and the book is full of meanings, what you're doing is you're reading what has been passed down to that person. So you're reading that person's conditioning and that person's relationship with the tarot, okay? Now, the tarot has 78 cards. You could see those as 78 people which are ready. They're wanting to meet you. They're wanting to activate their relationship with you. Say you've heard lots about these people from other people, i.e. by reading the books, and you run up to meet them and they try and speak to you and you're like, I don't think I understand you, but they know you a lot better, so I'm going to run back to them and I'm going to see what they say. You're never actually going to activate your own relationship with the tarot in that way. Yeah, so it's important to learn what these people are made of. Yeah, and that's what is put my teeth back in. That is what symbolism is. Yeah, they have the symbolism within them. So it's about looking into them, intimacy. Yeah, into me, see. That's what the tarot cards are saying. Into me, see. It's an intimate relationship. You can't have an intimate relationship with someone if you're just going to keep running off to someone that they know and talking to them instead. All right, so it's very much about learning the symbolism, not the meanings. Learning meanings is like buying a ready-made cake, and learning symbolism is like learning how to cook. Becoming a tarot reader is becoming a tarot chef. Clients want to see you cooking something hot up in front of them. They don't want to see you delivering a manufactured, pre-packaged ready meal. They can get a tarot app for that. Okay. All right. So I hope this is helping and I hope you can see it fine. Oh, let's go back here. Have I lost my place? Teach me how to cook might be the next one. Yes, it is. You really don't want me to teach you how to cook. I'm a terrible cook. I should have put teach me how to tarot cook. So if the ingredients are within, then we need to discover them. It's all about your relationship with the cards. As I was just saying here, it's all about getting to know them. So just work with a card at a time. Maybe start with the Fool and take it out with you. So have it somewhere where you can access it throughout the day, maybe in your bag or your pocket, somewhere that you're going to reach into and it's going to remind you that it's there. And start thinking to yourself, what aspects are within me that are like the Fool right now? And what aspects of that are positive in my life, and maybe what aspects are negative within my life, because there's positive and negative within each of the cards. And by looking at both of those sides, we get the whole experience, and that's where we get empowered. So you could think about how you are being a fool in your life, and now that doesn't mean necessarily foolish. Okay. The other thing is to think, who is being a fool around you? Who reminds you of the Fool? Could be Russell Brand, for instance. He reminds me of the Fool massively. It could be a child or someone with a really playful nature. It could be somebody who is really wacky and out there, like a mad scientist kind of person, or a nomad, traveler, that type of thing. So then it will start to kind of speak to you in your life. It will start to come alive and you'll start to understand it through your own experiences. The next one, sleep with it. Stick it under your pillow, that means. Okay. And, you know, when you wake up in the morning, write down any dreams that you've had. If you don't remember your dreams, then just write down how you feel. And that in itself will be a communication. Write about it. So, you know, just have a card there and write what you see in it. Instead of going to the book looking for meanings, you would just describe a card. So let's go back to a card. Okay. So let's go to the Devil, shall we? So you would write that you see a man and a woman, and the man's tail is on fire. It's being lit by the devil. And that is a black wand pointing downwards. There's chains around their neck, but they're loose enough around their neck. And he stood on a block, and there's an inverted pentagram, and there's an inverted symbol here. And you would just start describing it, and then as you describe it, you'll get into the card and you'll get into the flow, and you'll be like, okay, so Yeah, so that to me suggests this, and that to me suggests that. And then you'll start to see that, the ingredients, you're really getting to know them for who they are. You're really starting to activate your relationship, and you're getting to see what they are made of. And so then I put, then if you must, and only then if you must, look up the meaning in a book or two. So what I say to people that are starting out on the tarot journey is to not go to the books with meanings in, but to do the writing about it first and foremost, because when you write about it, it will open up for you. And then if you must, you can go and look at a book or two, and you'll probably read pretty much what you wrote. So then you'll see that you do have the answers inside of you. The knowledge is inside of you, and it's not in that book. And then you'll have the confidence, and that's the way to initiate your confidence there. Okay. Now let's move on. Storytell. This is the other thing that is important. So as a reader, you're a storyteller. That's what readers do. They storytell. And if you look at storytellers, they don't get hung up about whether it's real or not. Part of the magic is just the ability to kind of inspire through all of those different archetypes and mythologies. You are not meant to be a know-it-all. You are just meant to tell a story. Like I said, that's what is about storytelling. Yet we approach the cards with a need to be right. How can you ever know you will be right? It's not your job to be right, believe it or not. It's your job to storytell. You cannot prove what hasn't happened yet. So give yourself permission to say what you see, as long as you're not packaging it as this is right, what I'm seeing is right, then you have nothing to worry about. Okay, so embrace the Fool's journey, because that's what you're on. The Fool is so powerful that if you look at Russell Brand, sorry to go on about Russell Brand, but look how powerful he is. In terms of, he is the modern day jester. So if we look at how the Fool was in medieval times, the Fool was the only person that could take the pee out of the monarchy and not be beheaded for it. And what we have now is Russell Brand kind of doing the same to the government here, although they're trying with the Sun newspaper and everything like that to take him down around elections. He is really just too wild or too free and doesn't really care what people think about him, which gives him that revolutionary energy which is in the Fool. So this is what it's about. If you're going to be a reader, you kind of do have to embrace the Fool. It's his journey first and foremost. You are the Fool, and people may well even call you that. They will. They're going to call you that, and worse. Like even now, I get comments about being burnt at the stake. Thankfully, it's in virtual reality, so I'm protected by the computer screen. But if you are going to worry about what people think of you, then you're not going to be on this journey properly. You're going to have one foot in it and one foot out of it. And when that happens, you might as well just give it up, because you're going to fall off eventually and feel bleh. Whereas if you have both feet in it and you just immerse yourself in it, knowing that it's the journey of life, it's a spiritual practice, and it's rich with all of those kind of the darkness and the lightness, and you're embracing all of that, that's when you become inspiring. That's when you become free. That's when you become powerful. And that's when you can pass that on for others and activate that in themselves. Okay. So are you reading for you or them? When you're reading for someone else, that is. So let's look at the following statements and see, hand on heart, how many you say yes to. I worry about being wrong or right. Well, I worry about being wrong or right sometimes, not often these days, I have to say, but when I first started reading professionally, I really did. So maybe you could rate that. Maybe you could just think how high that is on a scale of 1 to 10 for you. 1 being, don't really worry about it. 10 being, I pretty much worry about that all the time and find that really difficult to get over. The next one is, I worry they will disagree with me. It's slightly different. It doesn't sound like it is, but it is slightly different. There's these times when you just know that you're right, and people will still disagree with you because they don't want to see what's in the mirror. So that's what I mean by that. So just note how you feel about that on a scale to 1 to 10, in terms of 10 being I really worry about that and 1 being I don't. I worry that I will say something that will have a huge impact on their life that could be awful. Okay. So where's that on your scale of 1 to 10? And the last one, I worry they will laugh at me or think I am mad or weird. Where's that on a scale of 1 to 10 for you? By the way, the word weird means connected to fate. So you are weird, and you know, there's method in your madness. That's what it's all about. Like I said, that's the Fool. It's the Fool's journey for you. That's it, right there. So the bottom line with tarot is that it's the Fool's journey, which is mad, which is weird, which is uncontrollable, expansive, incredible, and very, very powerful. And the bottom line is you cannot prove tarot. It's not about that. So it's like just coming back to the bottom lines all the time will give you the freedom. It's like, okay, that's what it is. That's what it is. It's about being really grounded with it. So this one, I worry that I will say something that will have a huge impact on their life that could be awful. Bottom line is, yeah, that could happen. Just like being wrong, just like being right. Anything is absolutely, totally and utterly possible with the tarot. And if you're not ready to open your heart and embrace that, then I wouldn't do it. So if these are resounding with you, then you aren't reading for them. You are reading for you. The reading is becoming all about you and not about them. So just to recap, if you worry about being wrong or right, if you worry they will disagree with you, and if you worry that what you say is going to have a huge impact that could be awful, and if you worry that they will laugh at you or think you're mad or you're weird, then you are getting in the way of that reading. So let's look at how to get past that. So maybe the last page made you feel like you must put all your energy into the other person, but effectively you are a translator, which means your primary goal is receiving the message without changing it to what you think it should be. The message isn't yours, it comes through you to give to someone else. And if you get caught in the person's energy too much, you can end up A, feeling drained, B, becoming a shoulder to cry on, C, feeling disconnected, and D, reading the way they want you to read, which is very tempting if you are coming into the reading in an energy that is about you. Paradoxical, but true. The more that you come into that energy where it's about you, the more you will start reading the way that they want you to read. So those are things to become very clear about, okay? To give inspirational and sensational readings, there is a need to turn your service to spirit, in that the readings automatically become about your client. So yeah, it might sound a bit kind of cold in a way that, you know, somebody is coming to you at a time that may well be their darkest, deepest hour, and you're kind of practicing being in the space that it's not about them and that you're delivering a message from spirit, okay? And that is true. It really is very, very true. The only way that you're really going to help them or assist them is by making sure that you are firstly and foremostly most strongly connected to spirit. Okay, so do you think the star could pour water onto land if she was worried it would dry up? Do you think strength could open the lion's mouth if she was worried about it being bitten? And do you think the Fool would be so powerful if he was worried about being a fool? If you want to read tarot so it oozes inspiration, you must embrace the Fool's journey. Okay. So how to give inspirational readings, the headspace to create before a reading. Turn worry into gratitude. So remember that the reading isn't about you. It's also not about the client, believe it or not. In a way it is, but that's a secondary thing. So it's the spiritual practice. So if you can be in a place where you send your attention up to spirit and you give gratitude for the fact that somebody is actually coming here and they've sent you that person, no matter how they got here, the bottom line is they've been guided by spirit to you. So there is something in that connection, no matter how it goes, even if you decide not to read, because it may just be about deciding not to read for that person, but there is something in that. I'm looking for the word here. Experience is the word that comes to mind, but it's not the one I had in my mind. So I'm trusting with that. There's something about that experience, and we don't necessarily know what it is. That is why that other one about you worry that something, you might say something and it's really going to have an awful impact on their life, is another thing to get out of. As long as you're in a place where you're looking at the positivity, and not, I don't mean sugarcoat, because sugarcoat doesn't get anybody anywhere. What I mean is being brave enough to see the light in the darkness. Really, really look into it until you can see it, and then you can show somebody that. That's what I mean there. So if you are coming with that frame of mind, then that's you serving. You are doing your best. You have absolutely nothing to worry about as long as you're aligned to yourself. Okay. So you can turn the anxiety, again, turn the worry into excitement, motivation, and passion. And it's just this feeling of like, oh, wow, you know, the spirit has gone through all of these hoops with this person to finally get them here. And it's not about being overwhelmed with that, because you've actually not really done much. It's you being the channel. So they're there in front of you and the energy is coming through you, and it's just your job to give it. That's it. It's your job to trust it and to give it. Not as gospel, not as truth, but as this is what is coming through me right now. So I'm sharing it with you. So there we have it. Take a moment to open to spirit and state that you are here to serve them over your client, even if they don't like it at the time. Yes, even if your client doesn't like it at the time. I hear you say, but I want happy clients. Of course you do, and that's how to get them eventually. So tarot is a very misunderstood and mistreated craft, and if we allow it to continue to be accessed in that manner, ultimately you, your client, your tarot will not be happy in the long run. You'll just be delivering short-term fixes, creating obsession, attachment, anxiety, and control. So where in that is happiness? Yeah? Okay. If you were in any other profession, would you let your client tell you how to do your job, or would you pass on what you know to help them understand? So 2 people come to mind with that. My husband, for instance, is a builder. So he'll go in round a client's house and they'll tell him all the things that they want to happen in the house. And because he's a builder, he can see whether that would work or not and why that would work or not. And he doesn't go through the job just doing what they want, knowing that that's not the right way to do it. He will stand there and be like, well, that can't happen because of this, 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 and this, even if it means they don't take him on for the job, because you just wouldn't do it. Okay. And, you know, reading tarot is just the same. It's just the same. The other person that comes to mind is my granddad, who was a butcher, and he never sold veal. And, you know, clients wanted him to sell veal, but he's like, do you know what happens in the process of veal being served up to you? And then they'd be like, no. And then he would tell them, and then they wouldn't want veal. So it's like we have the same kind of duty really here these days. And it's very important to value the tarot enough and value your connection with it enough to actually not get swayed by what somebody else wants you to do or how they want you to read. Okay. So they may not like what they hear at the time, but that is not for you to concern yourself with. As long as you've conveyed exactly what you got in a way that was positive, healing and empowering, then you've served. That's all you need to concern yourself with. That's it. Bottom line. So don't ever change the message for your clients. If you hired a translator and they did that, would you hire them again? You wouldn't, would you? Okay, it's the same. You're kind of hired by spirit if you're doing this as a profession or reading for friends or family, or yourself. And with yourself, I mean, that's the biggest spiritual path, isn't it? To really make sure that you're kind of impartial enough. Okay, so if you kept changing it, you know, eventually you're just going to block yourself. Okay, so trust that they will get or not get whatever they were supposed to. Maybe they will come back, maybe they won't. You are just a ripple in the pond, a drop in the ocean, forming a collective message on their path. And that is what is so beautiful about it. Even if they storm out, and I've had plenty of them, believe me, it's about trusting that that drop and that ripple in the pond is going to add to a collective. Even if they say to you, wow, that was really amazing, and you can see that they've had an incredible breakthrough, you're still just a ripple in a pond. There was probably a heck of a lot more ripples before that, and you just got to see the outcome of that. So that happens a lot. I can have a really horrific day sometimes with readings, and I'll be in a place where I think, right, that's it. What am I doing this for? And then the next day I have the most incredible readings. So the real yin yang path with this, there really, really is. Okay, and that is how to give inspirational, empowering readings without worry or books, or should I say, without blocks. Okay, so I'm coming back to the webinar now. I'm going to stop screen share. And hopefully you managed to see that presentation. I'm going to go to the control room now. Oh, I can't see it. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Somebody put loved your weird interpretation. I don't know what that means. I don't know what loved your weird interpretation is saying. I don't know what weird interpretation that is. Yeah, I'm really sorry that you couldn't see the PowerPoints. And yeah, that's really gutting. I'm so sorry about that. Okay, and somebody said that you're Helen, not Tiffany. Sorry, your name is coming up as Tiffany. How bizarre is that? The nature of the webinar beast. Very sorry, but it should have made sense anyway. I don't know why you couldn't see the PowerPoint, and hopefully it all made sense anyway. Let's have a look here. And if you would like to pop anything into... Okay, if you'd like to pop anything you want to ask about your tarot journey and any blocks that you have, then please do. Thank you, Salem. Says it's okay, I'm doing well. Thank you very much. Okay. So please do put in the comment or the chat box anything you want to ask, any challenges that you're having on your tarot journey. Now's your time to ask. So I'm just going to have a little drink of water. Oh, thank you for your comments about the PowerPoint. You're saying it all made sense anyway, so don't worry. Oh, that's sweet. Thank you. Okay, so do you have any questions, guys? La la la. It's just saying it made sense and we understand. Okay, so I'm being told off now to stop apologizing for things that are beyond my control. Yeah, you're right. Thank you, Helen. Who's coming up as Tiffany. It's like I'm getting a message from myself. It's like, take my own words. Absolutely. Okay, someone says here, got a friend who says her guide told her not to be my friend anymore so love could come in. Really? Okay. I'm not sure that that's a tarot block question. I'm very sorry that you've had that experience. It sounds like a guide is a part of ourselves. It's like, what is a guide? What is our higher self? It sounds like she's getting that message for a reason. Whatever that is, it's a message that's come to you for some reason. So have a think about what it is in your relationship, what it is in that, and that will take some time, to process. Okay. So we've got one here saying, I'm not sure how to get people to read for. Well, I mean, there will never be a problem with that if you're ready. So I think actually the issue here is, are you ready for that, Connie? People start showing up when you're ready. It's like the teacher appears when the student is ready, the client appears when the reader is ready. So it feels to me as if there's something in you that's not feeling ready. I would stay on to the end of this call if you can, because that will kind of give you, there's some things at the end of the call that may well help. Okay, so okay, so interestingly, somebody else is coming up as Tiffany who's not called Tiffany. So please do put your name in just in case you are coming up as myself. How very strange. So this one says, I find it hard when breakups or things of the sort. Should I tell them? Thanks, Fernanda. Okay, so hello, Fernanda. You're finding it hard because you're, one, coming from an aspect of prediction with that, two, seeing it as a negative thing. So it's about it's hard if like you're reading for friends, I think, more so than if you're reading for strangers. So I don't know whether you're reading for strangers or whether you're reading for friends. If you're reading for friends, it's kind of, that's icky. That's why, one of the reasons I don't like reading for friends. Reading for clients, you're a lot more neutral, or reading for strangers, you're a lot more neutral. So you can just basically see that there's some issues in the relationship. It's obviously not broken up yet if you're seeing it as a prediction. Okay, so it's like, why are you being shown that? What is it that is wanting to be looked at in order to work it through one way or another? So you're not going to be serving them by not telling them, but you're not going to be serving them by telling them that you can see a breakup either. So what you want to be doing is saying, it looks like there's a bumpy period in your relationship, and looking at the reasons why that might be, and exploring that, and exploring possible ways forward. I hope that you find that useful. Thank you. Okay. The questions are really coming in now. You started all shy. Okay, so Salem's saying, what are the 3 golden rules again? They are positivity, not negativity, healing, not prediction, and empowerment, not dependency. I'm sorry you could not see that on the PowerPoint. I'm apologizing again for something over my control. So it's in my book, The Transformational Truth of Tarot, if you want it written down, or of course, if you just keep this replay, just keep putting me on replay, then you'll remember, you'll have it that way. Okay. Let's have a look. I love the way you explain the words inspiration and intimacy. Yeah, thank you. We use these words regularly without really knowing their meanings. That's really true. Whoever you are, you've come up as Tiffany. Thank you. What if you don't get any feeling when a card comes up? That's usually about them. It's usually that they've got a block with that card somehow. You can pull more cards to see what that's about, to get the message of what that block is. Okay. So the lesson is to always charge even friends. Question mark. I'm not sure where you got that from. Because you think that they were friends with you because they wanted free readings. I don't charge friends. No. I hardly ever read for friends. I'm lucky enough that my friends respect that I do readings for, they respect because they know how I feel about it. They know that I don't really like to read for friends. I don't like to muddy those lines at all. And they tend to respect it. But of course, sometimes your friends go through things that are strong, and they know what you do and they want that from you. And I will just listen to my intuition. I have no hard or fast rules with that at all, really. So you've got to listen to your intuition. But if you are being pulled to do that reading because your friend is asking you to, and you are going, and you know they're going through a hard time, you are quite likely to be being pulled out of your alignment. So you've really got to check in to whether it feels right to you to do that reading or not. So for instance, a friend came to stay with me when she was going through a breakup with her boyfriend, and she wanted a reading. And before bed one night, I just said, here, and I gave her a past life regression CD to go to bed with. And I said, I'll just see how it is in the morning. I was buying myself some time. If I'm not sure about things, I'll buy myself time. And then when I got up in the morning, I just knew that I couldn't read for her in any way, shape or form. Even if I wanted to, it was just like a big blocked wall. And I tuned in and I got, she's got what she needed. So I went down to the kitchen and there she was. And I said, I just did what we do in readings. I just told her my experience. I just said, this is what just happened to me. And she said, yeah, I did get what I need. That past life was amazing. So if you're feeling like you have to read for friends, that's more about you again than it is about them. It's about listening to what you're feeling at that moment. The fact that you're saying that you feel that she was wanting you for free readings feels like if you knew that you already knew that deep down inside and you didn't listen to it. So I think the lesson is listening to it. It's not necessarily charging or not charging, or reading or not reading for friends. I hope that makes sense. Thank you. Okay, how do you know which impressions to tell the reader? I think you mean client. I'm going to assume you mean client. How do you know which impressions to tell the reader? I mean the client. Well, All of them, like I just said. It's not yours to edit or to change the message. It is yours to make sure that your fears aren't getting in the way, and to make sure that you're delivering it in the most powerful, positive and empowering way. Okay. I'm getting the problem that friends want readings for nothing. They don't need me anymore, they say. When they don't need me anymore, they say, sayonara. Okay. So what can you do with that? Hey, I mean, it sounds to me like there's something here right now for you about not reading for friends. Yeah, you're in a part of your journey where there's a lesson about that. So maybe it'll open up one day where you don't have to be so boundaried with it. But right now, you are the one who's in control of what your life is showing you there. Quite easily, it's your choice to do or not to do. And it sounds like you are getting quite a strong message that it's not really right for you to be doing that at this moment. There's no need to make your life more complicated there. Okay. You can just make the decision that you're not going to do that anymore. And then maybe it's a thing here about spirit kind of showing you that then it's about you. If that's what your readings are for, if that's who your readings are for, friends, then maybe it's their way of stepping you into professional. And when you start going professional, my God, you have baptisms of fires of lessons around your stuff and other people's stuff. So boundaries becomes very important. Okay, so I've got another one which says it's from a Tiffany. So many Tiffany's on this call tonight. There's a lot of Tiffany's in tarot, actually, because the word means epiphany, or message from God. So wherever I've worked mysteries, I am basically I replaced a Tiffany, and Psychic Today, there's a Tiffany as well. So let's have a look here. I know you're not Tiffany. I don't know who you are, but your question is, I am open to this and I'm going to grow. And in the end, I will be able to help people and through that myself as well. Yeah, lovely. So not a question, but a nice share. Thank you very much. And this one's from a Tiffany as well, but it's not a Tiffany, obviously. Someone else is saying they feel left out of the Tiffany Club. Yes, Lolsa, I know. I know your name. So anyway, this question says, how do you define the swords, the wands, the cups, the pentacles? I mean, we should know before you start. Does that make sense, please, Tiffany? Yes, it does make sense. Yes. It is important, really, to kind of know. That's what tarot is about. Like I said, it's about the learning of the structures, the learning of the major and the minor. And so you're talking about the minor there, the wands, the cups, the pentacles, the swords. It is a structure to respect. It is a structure to learn. And it is a structure to know about. But those structures are keys to your subconscious. So the art is to see that as something that speaks to your subconscious or unlocks your subconscious. Some decks, like the Rider-Waite or other pictorial decks. When I say that, Rider-Waite was the first deck just over 100 years ago to put a pictorial key to the minor arcana. Before then, it was just like 2 swords or 3 wands. So there wasn't a lot of intuitive help. But minor arcana with pictures on will speak to you more if you don't know what they're about. But generally speaking, if you're not going to learn the tarot, you might as well read with oracle cards. It'll be easier. So if you're going to go with the tarot, it is a incredible journey of depth and illumination and learning on all fronts. I hope that makes sense for you. Thank you. And okay. Any advice on developing your intuition, please? Yeah, just that's what the whole webinar has been about. To develop your intuition, it's to release any feelings of fear, because that will block it big time. So, you know, that is the process of developing your intuition, or writing about the cards and allowing your imagination to kind of just free free yourself up, and just write. Nobody's going to see it. If you don't want them to, you can write absolutely anything about a card. You do that, you'll be unblocking yourself a lot more. Also, storytelling. So when you get home at night, you can storytell, which means you get a deck of cards and you look through them and you pick out the ones that are relevant to you for that day. So it's like you're writing in a diary, but you're doing it with tarot. It's not a reading. You are actively picking them out on purpose. You're choosing them, putting them out, and seeing your day in front of you. That'll help with your intuitive flow with reading. Thank you. Okay. Thank you for your lovely comments, people. I'm not reading out the comments necessarily, but it doesn't mean that I'm not grateful for them. I'm just checking I'm getting through everybody's questions. Sometimes when people ask a question, I hear another question underneath this. Okay, this is a bit tricky for me to handle. What do you think is the most responsible to do? Answer the first question or help them to reformulate their question that I think I intuitively heard. Does that make sense? Yeah, I do. I get you. And it sounds like you're trying to make the decision for them. I would mirror it back to them, just like you have said here. It's like, okay, I heard you ask this question, and what I'm really hearing you ask is that question. And so what do you think? Just mirror it back to them and see what they do with that. If they're in a place of defense, they'll probably be like, no, I just want to look at that first question. And if they're in a place where they're open, they'll probably be really grateful for you mirroring that back, because that's what it's about. It's about increasing their awareness. I mean, why else are we doing readings? As far as I'm concerned, it's about increasing awareness. So what you have there is a great gift there. And just share it with a person rather than try and make the decision for yourself. However, if you get a response that doesn't sit with you, I would expect that would mean that there's a disconnection in that reading, and I would give it a second thought about whether to go ahead with the reading or not, because you kind of do have to trust your own intuition above and beyond what they say to you. Okay, I hope that is helpful for you. Just getting, thank you so much. Just found it in your book too. Very much appreciate what you said. I have to know everything about life before I live it. This helps so much to get past the fear of I have to know the whole deck before I read. It's all about trust. It is all about trust. I do think you do have to know the deck before you read it, but it's your own personal connection. Everything about the astrology, the Kabbalah, the numerology, the mythology, that's an ongoing thing. And if you were just going to think that you needed to know everything about the tarot, you'd never read for anybody. So yeah, just clarifying that. Thank you very much for your message. I agree with depending on your own intuitions in this and in life. How do you not impose your own life lessons into theirs? That's another thing, isn't it? That thing about projection. As long as you're aware that you might be projecting, again, and you're communicating that to the person, because it's all about communication, then I don't see the problem. It's if you aren't aware that you're projecting and you're not then communicating that you might be projecting that is the problem. So again, it's always about trusting whatever you get, but it's about the way that you communicate it, which is essential. So quite often you'll have people come to you that are mirroring what you're going through. And if you think that spirit send people to us at a certain time, which is what I do, I believe that happens, and then there's about a trust in that. There's a connection in that, there's an empathy in that. There could also be a projection in that. if that happens to you, then it's a case of just saying, I'm getting this coming through, but it's quite close to, you know, my own stuff as well. So I'm aware I might be projecting. What else can you do? Yeah. And as you come from that place of truth, it's always about coming from that place of truth and not being scared of the truth. And then, you know, you're going to be going through, you'll be going through the blocks. Whereas if you were worried about being projecting on somebody, then you're just going to block yourself. Okay, so you just remove it that way. I hope that helps. Lovely message here. Hello everyone. Tiffany, how do you receive the messages from the tarot cards and your intuition? Do you see images or get ideas and feelings? Yes, I do. I used to read for myself, but I don't know much about tarot yet. I'm just a beginner, but when a card comes out, I usually understand what that may mean, and I don't know if that's just me trying to make sense of my life. Okay. Okay, so you're kind of saying that you feel like you intuitively feel that you know the tarot, and I expect that you probably do. And I guess it all depends on what deck you have as well, and how connected you feel to that deck if you haven't actually learned it. I totally embrace learning the tarot intuitively first, and then bringing in the structures after you've got your intuition really strongly kind of there. Because if you've got the knowledge first and not the intuition, you kind of have to undo the knowledge to activate the intuition and then bring the knowledge back. So it sounds like you're doing very well on that level. And yes, I get feelings, I get messages, and I see pictures. Sometimes I'll lay the tarot out and I won't even look at the tarot. It'll just be like, so yeah, it's going with what you really feel is right at that moment for you. So Lol says, I have a little message about trust, which is from Spirit. Thank you for sharing it with us. Was told to me around 2 a.m. this morning. We were having a conversation during meditation, and I asked them, how do you know? How do you know what? I wonder. And they said, because I have walked a mile in your shoes, made me cry. Always trust spirit and intuition. They really do know, and they really do love you and want what's good for your highest good. Oh, lovely. Thank you for sharing that. That's beautiful. Awesome hangout, says Donis. Choice time as I'm in New Zealand for my breakfast. Merry Christmas to all. Oh, Merry Christmas to you too. Oh, Aaron, I can never say your name. Aaron38. Thank you so much for your always making my Astro Tarot channel much more easy for people in terms of timing them with the weeks. So I just want to thank you for that. Okay. Thank you. Great webinar. Thank you. Which tarot decks would you recommend as the best ones? Okay, that's a great question. Excuse me. Excuse me. Oh, coughing fit. Sorry about that. Best ones. Okay. Oh, there's so many tarot decks. No wonder my voice went into a coughing fit. Obviously, tarot decks are a very personal thing, just like the tarot journey is a very, very personal thing. But as I was saying to someone earlier, what happens with beginners, if you're a beginner, is that you will get into a place where you'll buy a deck because you like it, you know, so it attracts you, it looks good. And then you wonder why you can't read it. It's like looking for a partner. Yeah, we get attracted to the good looking partners, but they're not necessarily the right ones for you. So it's important to really look at what it is that, yeah, what are the best decks? What are the best decks? Well, the best deck for learning, without a doubt in my mind, is the Rider-Waite. It's not the most picturesque deck, even though it was the first deck to add a pictorial key to the minor arcana. You know, people often say, oh, but it's not pretty. There's so many more pretty ones out there. Well, yeah, there is. But that just goes to show that if it's not pretty and it's still the #1 tarot deck of all time, then there's a reason for it being the #1 tarot deck of all time. And it's not because it's pretty. So in that sense, the Rider-Waite, I mean, if I had to choose any deck, God, it would be tough. It would be tough, but it would have to come down to the Rider-Waite. I personally like Ciro Marchetti's decks a lot because he has quite a bit of astrology in them, and usually when you put the card out, if you like astrology as well, so like this one, you can see Leo here. So usually when you put the card out, Neptune, like this one, Mercury here in Taurus there. And quite often when you put the card down, you know, Mercury might be in Taurus at that time or things like that. So I find that utterly fascinating and totally magical. And I completely love the connection in that. But this one's the Tower of Dreams, and it's so hard to get a hold of, which is why mine are looking so battered, which is a little bit embarrassing when I go on TV and webinars and things, because they're just... they're a collector's item, really, and yeah, it's not easy to get hold of them. But Ciro Marchetti, yeah, I love his decks in general. There's something really quite magical about them, and any decks that have astrological symbols on them fascinate me because I'm into astrology and the way that links in with the tarot. But like I say, it's a personal thing. It may be that you're into power animals, or it may be that you're into crystals or things like that, but that's coming away really from the traditional tarot. And if you want to learn the tarot properly, I would start with the Rider-Waite, and then you can start to explore other decks after that. Okay. Someone said, thank you for the question, the answer about the, do you mirror about their question or not? It confirms, so that's good to know. Thank you. What do you think about learning from the readings we are delivering? Are they mirroring us as well? Yeah, sometimes I give readings and I'm like, oh, that's why you know, people say, Tiffany, do you read for yourself? I'm like, no, I don't read for myself. Don't really have time to read for myself. But I don't need to read for myself. And sometimes it's just a reading that happens and it's like, okay, I get the message. So we never really have to pay for readings. We can get paid for having our own readings. But again, it's subjective, it's personal, and it's something to check out. It's about your feeling and what you're left with that feeling at the end of the day is important. It may well be that it's mirroring to you that something's not right. If you come away feeling deflated, there's a lesson in that about the way that you were reading. If you come away feeling woo, then it's telling you that you're reading in a beautiful way. And if you come away with a smack, you'll know it. You'll know when it's for you. It'll smack you around the face. Usually in a good way. It's like, wow, okay, that's really powerful. Okay. Would you say that we have a destiny or a path in life that we cannot change, or do we always have a choice? So that's one of those questions, isn't it? I think we're given a certain set of ingredients, and it's about learning what we can make with those ingredients. So does that answer your question? Because if I just felt like it was all destined, totally destined, then I'd be a very, very predictive reader. If I felt like we have a choice, then I'm going to be an empowering reader. So really, I guess my main thing of what I'm about is choice and empowerment. However, I do believe that we've chosen things. It's still choice. We've chosen things, certain things, before we came here to experience. And when they happen, the choice that we have is about how we work with that. So I think there's some things that we can't get around. I think there are some things that are predestined, and the only choice is how we work with that when that gets activated. Is that something that we want to work with, or is it something that we decide not to work with? But even then, choice is quite tricky, because you may feel like you have no choice with that predestined thing. You may feel like you have to go through it. You may want to make certain choices that are better, but there's programming and conditioning and all of those things. And that's where the tarot really comes in to its forte as well. Thank you. It's not a black and white answer, that one, is it? Okay. I'm getting some thanks, and a question here that says, when you read, do you ever do any protective practices or rituals, like surrounding yourself in a sphere of light, etc.? How do you protect yourself from clients draining you or hooking into you or attacking you? Like if they are angry and you get that feeling in your solar plexus, how do you protect yourself from that? How do you shake it off and not think about it and replay it in your head that night? Okay, yeah. So the first thing I'm going to say is probably going to shock you. I give no thought to protection whatsoever. I think if I did, then I'd be a neurotic mess. I believe that protection, or the need for protection, comes from a place of fear and separation. Protection. So I'll clear my energy rather than protect it. Just like with my cards, this is my original Rider-Waite deck, and it's never really, it's never cleansed. You know, there's a card there that looks lighter than the others because it's had a transplant, because it's so old. I couldn't actually bear letting it go when it lost a card, so I got another deck and transplanted it. I don't actually cleanse my deck. I don't charge my deck. I don't protect my deck. I have a faith and a trust that everything that happens in the Fool's Journey and everything that happens in life is part of the story. So I don't ever cleanse my deck, because it would be like, what? I'm erasing the story. And maybe that sounds odd, because I do cleanse myself. And let me look at the other bit, what you were saying there. How do you protect yourself from clients draining you? Well, we kind of did that in the PowerPoint, but I know that you guys didn't see it. As long as you're serving spirit first and foremost and not getting drawn into their energy, they can't do anything. And you won't replay it at night. You'll give it and you'll let it go, and you trust that whatever happened was something they needed to see and something you needed to see. You take the lesson from that, and then you just move on. It gets easier with time. It really does. Okay. Okay, someone's asking what the deck of oh, thank you. And someone's answered, Cheryl. the deck is the Rider-Waite deck. Okay. Yeah, sometimes people think it's the Wide-Awake deck, and this one is the Rider-Waite deck. Yeah, it's the Rider-Waite with an E on the end. Okay, guys, that's the end. And before we go, I'm going to try and do something else, and hopefully this works. And this is a display offer. Okay, I hope you can see that. And the offer, might help if I actually put the right offer on. Let's try again. Here we go. Hopefully you can see this. If you can't, don't worry. It will be sent out with the replay, the link. But hopefully you can see a pop-in box here with an offer, which is the Transformational Truth of Tarot, and you can click on it, hopefully. And that will give you a form to fill in, about how you feel about your tarot practice, and that will give you an application. It'll be an automatic. You'll be applying automatically by filling that in and pressing send to have a one-to-one tarot tutorial with me. I have a course starting in January, which is both London-based and webinar-based. So don't worry if you're not in London. It's a 6-month course, and we'll be going right through from your own personal spiritual journey with the tarot right through to reading professionally. So this tarot tutorial that I would have with you would be, firstly, just to really connect with you on your tarot path personally and see where you're at with it, the blocks and where you want to be with it. And secondly, to see whether you'd like to do that with me or not. And thank you very much for your time. And yeah, and thank you for your patience with the PowerPoint as well. I've loved sharing this with you. Thank you so much for giving me the space to do that, because I'm very passionate about sharing those transformational truths of tarot. And I'm going to say goodbye now and have a lovely Christmas. All right, take care. Bye.